how do you map, like, what's an example of how you find that on a map? For example, if you draw a line between two points, or what?
Well, my first, I went to this study because I thought that there potentially was geometry in the landscape. There's geometry in flowers and nature, seashells, humans, planets, galaxies. So I went under the assumption that there was also geometries in the landscape. And my first discovery of this pattern was a relationship of three mountains in northern New England, Mount Washington, Mount Mansfield in Vermont, and Mount Ascutney, which were in an equilateral triangle. And that was really the basis for the evolution of the Gaia Matrix geometry that I discovered at the center of North America. Since there are also these alignments, I come from this from a place of geomancy, if you will, an understanding of ley lines that we were familiarized with through the English megalithic culture, where you have a series of cultural sites all in a line across the landscape. So, not wanting England to have all the goodies, I figured that there was also landscape lines or ley lines everywhere in the world. So I set about this quest in finding ley lines way back in the 70s, where I was working with the New England Antiquities Research Association, and in that capacity I would look at positions of ancient sites and determine the geographic position of these sites, and then from there determine where another site may exist that has similar geographic parameters. And to not to my surprise, but was to my surprise, that these sites all lined up in a linear pattern across the landscape. And from there I just evolved the study. There's a number of people who are doing this. One fellow, Steve Nelson of South Carolina, he pointed out that there was this alignment to me up the east coast of North America, which is a very obvious, one of the most obvious ley lines we have in North America, and that connects all the cities from Boston down through Washington, D.C., and I encourage you to look at that on any map and draw a straight edge, and it goes right through Philly and Baltimore and New York City, New Haven, and places like that. During my initial study, I was just looking at these short patterns, and since the introduction of Google Earth, it's been a great tool for us geomancers to really look at how these relationships, land relationships, extend across the globe. And for instance, this one I mentioned with the Acadian Way, it essentially connects New Orleans, Mexico City, with the Middle East, and goes right through Europe and hits all these places like Kosovo and such. And it's a place where it's an alignment that carries the pulse of Western civilization from Europe over into the Americas. Over in Europe and Greece, for instance, Troy is on this line. It's these sites of proverbial bloodshed, and the proverbial line in the sand, the separation between East and West, North and South, religions and such. So, and so these patterns are, I've come to understand, can be both personal and collective in nature. That we evolve these patterns as we walk our path, live our lives. We develop geometries and relationships on the landscape. So my latest evolution of this study is to look at geographic life studies. So that's what I'm working on right now, is to try to bring this work from the collective into the personal, because that's always the call when I do these talks at Dowsers, is how does it affect me, and how do I relate to these things? Folks have trouble jumping immediately to collective consciousness before they understand their own personal piece in it all.